Welcome back to the Darius Gant Show. This is Darius Gant, your host, as well as the founder and CEO of Tesoro AI, where we help companies to build and scale AI solutions and AI teams. On this podcast, as you know, we focus on cutting-edge technology, specifically the practical application of AI in business. So we're going to go beyond the sci-fi hype and see what real AI founders and executives are implementing into the real world to revolutionize business. In this episode, we'll sit with Sofiia Shvets. She is the co-founder and CEO of a company by the name of Let's Enhance. Let's Enhance uses artificial intelligence, neural networks, to enhance photos. So think about this. Watching your favorite crime TV show, they have this screen of a potential suspect and the picture is very blurry, but somehow they magnify the picture 100 times and the picture is extremely clear. We all know that's not possible in real life. Well, at least it wasn't. Sofiia and her team have tackled this issue and are now applying photo enhancement to the enterprise. So it'll be amazing to hear her story. You'll certainly enjoy it. She's a person who's running an international startup. So her story should be a bit interesting in terms of how she's doing it and the way she's thinking about building her organization. Whether you've tuned into one show or many shows, you've heard our founders and CEOs, CTOs talk about data strategy. Part of that data strategy is the data labeling process, the necessary evil to making these machine learning models and predictive capabilities of the technology that we're talking about work. If that's you, you're undergoing that process and you're looking at potentially outsourcing that process, make sure you take a look at the team here at Tesoro AI. We have a team here that specializes in data labeling, data annotation. So if that's a process that you're currently taking care of in-house, or you could use some extra manpower, extra machine power, to accelerate that process, make sure you reach out to the teams at Tesoro AI. Visit the website, www.tesoroai.com for more information. All right, let's hop into the show and hear from Sofiia. All right, Sofiia, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting.
Absolutely. So, where I want to start off is learning more about your background, specifically your journey, right? A lot of people who are in artificial intelligence have a more mathematical background, or at least focused on the coding aspect first. Was that the story for you, or did you have a different approach?
Yeah, so no, my story is a little bit different. And I was always I have a background in mathematics because my mom and my grandpa were math teachers and math professors. So I was always good at math, but I never wanted to be a programmer or coder. So when it was the time to decide what I want to do with life, it's 16 years, it's really hard to do. So I decided to pursue for economics degree, which is like the most general what you can and then you go from there. So I studied economics and I was working with different economical projects. Then I jumped into IT. I worked with startups. We were using different technologies like computer vision, like VR, ER. So I was working there, but it wasn't like artificial intelligence in that case. I got more interested in the sphere when I was working at Google. That was just prior starting my own company. I was helping clients to scale to different countries, to scale products, using all ad tech tools that Google can provide, from apps installations to YouTube ads to AdWords. And it's all numbers. It's all how you launch campaigns. It's all how effective your ads are performing, considering different criterias. And doing ads manually, it's time consuming. So people hire agencies, people hire build inside CPC teams or somebody dedicated teams to do that. So it's 100 campaigns if you're a big company. And then we started working, it was 5 years ago, 4 years ago. So we started introducing more and more AI-based tools like smart campaigns. And I was mind blown by how efficient they are. You need to give them sometime like 2 weeks to train on your data, to understand how your ads are performing. And then it starts auto-generate stuff, propose different tools. It's all dynamic. And companies showed 250% growth just using the AI. And I was like, wow, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I got started be interested in the industry, did some courses, but eventually my company was, we are not doing like finance in like classic way. We are working with computer vision, which is rich media. It's another kind of branch of AI. Yeah. But I was always interested in photography, and at some moment I got tired of corporate life, and I always have a dream to pursue my career as an entrepreneur and start my own company. So having like background in marketing and understanding some basics of AI, when my co-founder showed me the prototype of technology that can improve photos, I straight away picked that it's interesting. It has potential. We can explore that. And that was kind of no-brainer. We decided to do an experiment and started a company.
All right. Yeah. So very interesting, right? Because I think for a lot of people, when they think about artificial intelligence, it's something that you have to be, maybe some background in computer science in terms of what you may have studied in undergrad or grad school, or maybe some deep knowledge in mathematics, right? So, but for you, right, you understood the math, but like you came in from a business perspective, and as you were exposed to AI, the applications, you could actually see where they were adding value, what kind of pain points that they were solving.
Yeah, so one thing that I see in the industry that lots of people don't fully understand is that AI is not a magic pill. It's a tool. It's technology that you can use. And there's a few types of AI projects that I spot like in the industry in general. First is deep tech, purely AI-based, technology-based projects that, yes, it's mostly research. So it's teams that are working on some kind of new breakthrough approach to some problem. They do lots of research. Most likely they don't have any product. It's mostly like, we create new way using possibilities that were not open before, like all these new networks that we have. GPUs, processing power is so much cheaper than it was like 5 years ago. So it allows you to do lots of experiments and push research further. So for that case, most of the teams that I see, like academic, like deep computer science, everything, but that's just the specific of these types of startups. But majority of startups, AI, it's a tool, it's an instrument. It opens a possibility to do automation or speed up processing significantly that were there before. For example, finance, right? Very interesting. People were trading for years, tons of years, but it was always manual. But now you can build a system that analyzes all the market like insights and give you straight away recommendations what to bet, or it analyzes all financial like previous years data and just give you. So it was before, just AI allows to do more and more and more stuff and much more effective. And also another example, GPT-3, which is text network that was just released recently by OpenAI, it generates text. So what is it like? I have lots of friends that works with text. So what they do, they, for example, generate sales letters. They feed the network with their previous sales letters. And instead of hiring 2 copywriters that will write it all manually, they have just one person that do review. You still need to review stuff.
Right.
But the networks like produces you 15 examples of the same letter, and you're like, oh, this is cool. I will take this part of this letter, this part of that letter, and I will have a great new like text. Instead of 10 hours, you will have 1.5 hours. So it's all about speeding up the process and making the process more effective. And I believe that you don't need computer science degree to do that. If you work already you just need to understand what is happening on the market and what you can automate. So you can hire the team, or your CTO can hire the team. Yeah. It's much more simpler than most of people think. It's not like a magic, you know?
Yeah. That's a great point. And what I'm hearing is look, if you can understand a situation where value can be created to a customer, a company, an individual, there you have a product. Now, whether you need to use AI or not is a different story, but the AI is just a tool. So you don't need to know how to actually build the tool yourself to get started. You just need to know whether the tool actually works for the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, exactly. That's
very good.
That just unlocks new opportunities for majority of companies. Yeah.
And so for you, right, you got exposure to how the tools work while at Google. Were there any other things you did outside of that gave you a little bit more confidence that, hey, look, I should go out and start a company that's leveraging AI or even computer, and more specifically computer vision?
Well, I was working prior Google. I was working with the project that we were doing. It was a startup. It wasn't successful, but it was very insightful in terms of like how you can start projects. So we were doing quests in augmented reality, and I got a bit familiar with the space in general and how you can create and how you can leverage different computer vision approaches. And I'm naturally interested in visuals and photography, and I love design. So when we saw, my co-founder showed me that, you can take low-res photo and you can build a pipeline of different networks that can turn low-res into high-res. I was like, okay, I straight away can spot like potential applications.
Yeah.
So let's go and just check all of them. That's
okay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And for our knowledge, right, you founded Let's Enhance.
Yeah.
What was the key insight where you said, you kind of alluded to this just now, but where you said this would be extremely valuable and something that I should start working on now?
It was kind of a mix of gut feeling and, when you have so they say that you should start a company that first is combination of your pure genuine curiosity plus market opportunity, right? So that's it's when you start a company, most likely your initial idea will be different from what you will be working on in the year or two, just because you get more insights from clients and you change. Yeah, I spotted that visuals are everywhere. There is a few huge industries that use it, like 500 million photos are uploaded to Facebook every day. That's just the amount of content people produce. But this content in general is not great in terms of, it's not professional content. So it's an opportunity. Now you need to spot this kind of product market fit and to understand which segment of all these people will benefit most from what you're working on and what the problem is. In our case, when we're thinking about starting Let's Enhance, the problem was crazy simple. So that was actually what became a starting point for the company. My co-founder, he was helping his friend to build an e-commerce website to resell stuff from China. It's multi-product store, lots of different products, and photos were really bad. And in e-commerce, visuals is crazy important. It affects conversion. It affects how Google likes you. It affects how people click on cards. It's really important. There is lots of studies that show the correlation between visuals and purchase intent.
Yeah.
And it's really expensive to do photo shooting, lots of manual process. And there was just no good originals. So we started thinking, okay, we can improve that and we can put straight away from the store. So that was the use case that we started, that we were training our first version of algorithms for, to solve the problem that is already there. And then we were like, okay, maybe other people have this problem as well. Let's launch it and see who will use us. And let's do some iterations. So that was like the first half a year of the company. We launched the product as a B2C kind of web platform, and it was crazy launch. We launched on Product Hunt, straight away became the product of the week. We got like 200,000 people on the platform, because when you claim that you magically improve photos, people buy. But our wasn't trained for that. It was so many different use cases. So like at probably like 50% we failed. There was results. And then we're like, okay, now we need to understand what they load us, what they need to, like, who will be paying us from that. And then we understood that people who actually pay us are not kind of hobbyists. You don't need as me and you as a person, you don't need these kind of high-res photos. You can, or if you have one photo, you don't need that. You can go to Google Photos or take another shot, whatever. But if you're a professional or if you're a business, you need these particular photos. You need them. It's a part of your workflow. We have designers that create art exhibitions in huge installations. We have e-commerce stores that put it on the website. We have gamers. That was a funny category.
Really?
Rendering and gamers. You need nice quality frames to look at nicely in VR. So VR tends to give you this photorealistic experience. So you need to have nice quality. We even had cases that we had requests from, but it was very hard to work with these cases, like medicine, for example. Improving X-rays, it's very tricky, because if your network generates some kind of additional information that wasn't in the original photo, it can be considered as, I don't know, early cancer marks or something like this. So it's very like we studied multiple use cases, and then we understood that they are all pretty technical, professional, and it's not a funny B2C product thing. It's more like a professional tool. And that actually determined the direction of the company after first year. So right now we're actually switching to B2B direction in general.
No, that pivot is very interesting. But I think, what is really interesting is, a lot of people launch on Product Hunt, right? And not everyone gets that product of the day. What are a couple things that helped you, or that you all did, to put yourself in the position to have that kind of momentum behind you?
Well, also regarding Product Hunt is a great tool, and we launched that twice with our renewed project as well. It became product of the day. So I would say that for all people like that want to launch on Product Hunt, go and launch. It's a great platform to get feedback, but don't expect miracles from that. So the audience there is pretty specific, and I see that for some products is more beneficial than for others. So think about the audience is more like designers, makers, more creative and marketing community. So if you're building something for engineers, unless it's applicable to some wide common problem, you might get less response, because it's just it's better to launch on some Reddit threads or in dev communities to give that initial feedback than on Product Hunt. Well, Product Hunt you should launch as well, like in any case. In Product Hunt,
but you shouldn't just rely purely on Product Hunt.
So Product Hunt has a great checklist that they published, even like prep checklist. So first of all, you should keep in mind the audience that is there. So if you have something like funny B2C, something that is applicable to multiple audiences, like my friends just launched Browser, which is everybody can use Browser. So it's a great product to launch on Product Hunt. Very wide problem, think about the audience in mind. You need to prepare nice visuals and simple explanations on what you do. Ideally video converts great, maybe like 30 seconds, 40 seconds video, engaging, explaining what you build, what's the value. Then so lots of people spend too much time to find a perfect hunter, but Product Hunt says you can even launch it by yourself. It doesn't matter. It's okay. But if you can find a great hunter, it's always a plus, but it's not like also a magic pill. So mostly you should think about the visuals, value prop, and how to engage the audience. So lots of people do, they give promo code, they get like demo links, they ask the community there to launch and try and give feedback and be very, very active on the feed. And what is great with Product Hunt, it's also monitored by lots of journalists.
Okay.
And if you should think about creating maybe something viral, even funny, or something like sub product of your main product that can be easily shared. I don't know, quiz, or lots of people share ebooks. It's more about creative marketing. Yeah, but it's a great platform. You should use that in any case, if you even build something technical or not. You can, and also there's a Product Hunt just launched upcoming section, probably like 1.5 years ago. So if you're just building something, you can create a concept page and ask people to sign up to become like alpha testers or beta testers and just test your product, which is great as well. Like they have the whole upcoming thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. So, just given that we work with a lot of startups on the Tesoro AI side, and then also, just in interviewing a lot of founders, that's one of the platforms that folks talk about a lot in terms of going to market initially. So always helpful to get that feedback.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm curious about on your end, right? If we're going back to the early days before the product, right? When you just had the idea, you're coming out, you kind of had the experience at Google where you're seeing these AI tools, you're understanding how they're used, moved over to a startup, got more experience from a visual perspective and seeing the value that creates. So you meet your co-founder who is now the CTO?
Yes. CTO and co-founder. So I'm the CEO, he's the CTO, very simple.
Okay. So you had been more focused on the business side and more like the solution side. He also understands the solution, but has, more the technical side. I'm curious, as you all launched this company, what were the key things that he brought to the table that allowed you to get off the ground?
So for CTO, there is a few key things that are important for the CTO to help with a startup. Like the combination that we both had is actually, it's a great combination, because that's what I tell all the founders that ask me sometimes for advice, that you should build a founding team that is complementary in skills, that you cover as much different parts of the product as you can. So ideally it's the business side, design, and the product, like in general. So Vlad, my co-founder, he's a great CTO. So he's a very rare combination of very like technical knowledge. He understands deep learning and technology really well. He was working as a startup founder, like CTO in the startups before, so he knows how to work with lots of data, and he can build lots of products. Like he can build. So the first version was built by he wrote almost all the code, and he managed contractors, because we were a very young startup and we couldn't hire full-time engineers. So
smart move.
We were trying to build as much as we could by ourselves. So, and also he works greatly with clients, which the key missing part that I see in lots of CTOs, they are so much in technology and in AI that you need to learn how to explain to clients what you're working on in very, very simple way, and don't like do it over, like crazy technical and don't go into details. It's kind of a bit rude, but they don't care. Well, they do care, but they care more about how their problem would be solved, that what type of neural networks you use. So Vlad, he has both. So I invite him to our clients call when we need to negotiate like integration, or the clients have questions regarding the tech. We need to understand their use case better. So he's great at interviewing clients and explaining them technology in a very simple way, how they would benefit from what we are working on, any concerns. Yeah, that's really helpful for technologists.
Okay. Yeah, very, very interesting. And it's great to hear like he has kind of that experience on the software development side, but also on the deep learning side. I'm curious, as you all leverage some of the contractors, like, was there a specific area, you know, was it the UI UX where they focused? Was it portions of the AI? What were the elements where you said, hey, look, let's bring in some contractors to help us scale, because, you know, we have limited resources?
Yeah, so the rule here to work with contractors is that you should outsource stuff which is not core for the product. So we still work with contractors on parts like UI or some front-end parts, CEO optimization, you know, but all the AI, for example, as we're doing lots of research, it's our team. Infrastructure works, it's all inside. When we had an MVP of the product, we needed to design a website, to do some kind of website changes. It's a front-end work. It's simple work. You can hire contractors to do that. If it's something like design or something that is not core and you can manage, and it's not a repetitive task, or you might have it once per month, or you might have it as a project now, because for example with design, we have a great UI designer, but we have a month when it's lots of work, when we are like changing websites, you know, working on new part of the product, and there can be 1-2 months when there is nothing happening. So we are working on the project based, and it's really important to find people that can work with you all the time. They are familiar with the product. You don't need to onboard them. You don't need to onboard new person all the time.
That continuity is important in the familiarity, because I'm sure, as you know, right, the onboarding process as a founder, you're feeling like, we're spending more time teaching them about the product than they are building some, you know, what's going to get us to the next level. I'll share an interesting perspective. When a lot of times when we're working with startups, sometimes they don't have that. I like you are in a great situation where your co-founder, right, has that core capability from an AI perspective. Another route, though, is, and what we help folks with is, we'll help you to build out the AI capability, but with the mind that this at some point needs to be able to transition in some shape, form, or fashion to your team, where it's core to the team, and where the brains of that particular piece of the product, the AI, right, is internal. And so that's usually helpful for folks who don't have that, you know, that co-founder who understands, all right, well, here are the steps we need to take to build out a functioning, keyword functioning, AI product. So
yeah. Well, at some point you need like to have somebody that understands, because it's impossible to outsource if you don't have, like, you can outsource the process that you at least understand the basics of. So if you want to start working with AI, you should have somebody that understands it at least on a high level, like that can give tasks for the team. Or you can find a partner that is doing that. So like companies like yours, and I know lots of my friends are also doing like consultant agencies that when you have the idea and that, I want to implement this technology, there's so many hidden things in there. So you it's like, you need to understand, maybe there's lots of cases that you don't need that. It would be more complicated to build than to do it manually. I saw like lots of cases like this.
Well, to that point, one of the interesting things I've seen where folks have gone wrong, it's, in order to save some money, you'll try to hire someone who has maybe a year of experience, couple years of experience, but like that person's ability to execute, to plan, to create the architecture that makes the system work is, it's nothing compared to someone who is at 10 years of experience, who can say, look, what we're doing now is going to be very helpful for you 8 months down the road. So let's think about that. Let's think about the bigger picture, and then we can fill in the other pieces. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is, you started out, right, it was in London, correct?
First version was in Kiev. I was in Dublin in Google, and I quit. I got back to Ukraine, where most of my team is now. So the first version we built in Ukraine, then we moved to London to kind of scale it up.
And now you are in Silicon Valley, co-founder, but still working with the co-founder who is in Europe. What was the catalyst? What made you say, look, Silicon Valley is the next place for me to be?
Yeah, it's very simple. So when we launched our B2B direction last year, we started studying the market and understanding. So as I am responsible for business development, and you should be on the market where your clients are. So that's the rule. It's really hard to communicate and build some kind of relationship when you're like 10 hours away. And it's both like time-wise, and it's also perception. So if you have a call with somebody that is, stayed in the US, and then you are like, it just, you have more trust, especially when you're selling something new, then you're like, oh, I'm having integration with somebody that is San Francisco based, and I'm also in San Francisco. That kind of like you're close. If something is wrong, I can come to the office, I can like help, it's just you're close. So that was one point. Another one was that the technology that we are working on and what we are doing research with, most of our partners like NVIDIA, we just partnered with Kickstarting with EFI. It's like large digital printing company. They all are Bay Area based. So you need to be closer to like your key partners as well. So now we have a structure that I am here in the Silicon Valley. I'm doing kind of all the business development partnerships, and I will do fundraising. Probably like in a month or two, we'll start our seed round fundraising. While my team is engineering R&D team is in Ukraine. We want to keep it there because we have nice engineers there. We know the market. We can hire the best. We know what to ask them, and we want to scale up the team there. So we're planning to have like two offices, which is one would be US based, more like marketing, sales, business development, and R&D and engineering in Ukraine. Because we need to use our advantage of of being in Ukraine. We have a great mass school. Like overall engineers are very, very senior. They can deliver lots of great technology innovations, and it's beneficial for both parties.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm 100% on board with having a global team. When I do have these conversations, like one of the things I find to be very interesting is that the folks who seem to be most successful in that, right, you kind of have to have, you do have to have someone in a position of leadership who you trust, right? And for you, right, your CTO is there. So to your point, you got to leverage that geographical advantage in the fact that you know the market, you know who's good and who's not. So long story short, there's someone who's talented and who you can trust, where you're able to build value versus someone who's like, hey, maybe I should just go and find a few people over there. That's kind of a different, more difficult approach.
Yeah.
Now, did you go through an accelerator program?
Yes, we went in Techstars London. We were just a few months old. That was very valuable for us. So when we started the company and we had like first users and some revenue, I understood that we are both our first-time founders, like fully. It's a new product, it's a new technology. We knew. Now I go back, just look back, and I just like, oh my God, how inexperienced we were at that moment. So yeah, I applied as to all kind of top tier acceleration programs, and we got accepted to Techstars London, which has a EI focus. So that's the acceleration in Europe. And it was really helpful because even having somebody that is more senior guiding you through the process, it was really helpful for us to get the first funding, to get this mentorship. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess what would you say is kind of maybe the one or even two things that being a part of that accelerator provided you that you wouldn't have been able to get otherwise?
Well, the accelerator, like it's a part of the name, right? So it speed up the process. So Techstars is a great program. They pick like 10 companies, and lots of processes are like really hands-on. So partner and managing director is working with you on daily basics because you have like 10 companies, and they have also associates team helping you. Yeah, so in the first months we had like 100 meetings with different mentors. It's really crazy and really hard to get in the real life. So they set up meetings for you. You meet with different industry specialists, and then you pick up like 3-5 mentors that you work closely with that are in your industry. That was really helpful to get this initial feedback. We get like lots of different advices, and then you process all the feedback, and then you choose where to work on. And also they get like they give you funding, they give you access to investors network, which is also, accelerator gives you kind of a check mark that they already selected you from like lots of other startups. So for investors and for partners, it's kind of they give you their brand, and it's much easier to open doors. Much easier to open doors, especially if you're doing a startup for the first time. So if you're a serial entrepreneur or founder, maybe you have this network already and you don't need that. But for first time founder, that was really helpful.
Okay. So, and I know I want to be conscious of time here, but one thing I'm curious about is, look, let's say I'm a potential customer. I've got hundreds, maybe thousands of photos, right, where I think that the quality is not amazing, but I would like for them to be there. What is it like engaging with the Let's Enhance platform, right? Am I, how do I, as a user, actually go in and take advantage of the product?
Yeah, so for B2B customers, so what we offer our B2B customers, we work with companies that has lots of user-generated content, like e-commerce, real estate, users upload them photos. So what we do, we not just improve the quality, that was what our starting point. We also do retouching. We add more colors, make the photo look better in general, like improve low light, just the photo is bright and better. And we also optimize it for web if needed, also using deep learning, which is more efficient than older methods. So it's very easy. Our main focus is scalability. So everything is automatic. So the customers go to the platform. We have the kind of API, kind of a type form that we respond like really fast, or you can message us directly. And we ask about the use case. It's really important for us to understand the use case. We process some kind of sample photos, maybe 100, 500, and then the integration is super simple. We work through API now. So all the platforms, they have that database or CDN or S3 where they store this data. So we integrate there, and you just need to input input source, where to take photos, what to do with photos, and where to get them back. So it's like 1 hour of developers' time, because we engineers as well, we know how important time is. And that's it. That's all. And system can process hundreds of thousands of photos. It's just about the limits, and we support on all stages. That's all.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we were joking before about it almost being like in the sci-fi movies where, or maybe some crime show where they have a really blurry photo and then they just do this ridiculous zoom in, and the photo that was already blurry to start with is all like, it's very clear. It's like in your mind, you're like, I know that doesn't happen, but like you guys are moving the world, right? From sci-fi to, hey, you can actually do this.
Yeah, that was the reason why the company is called Let's Enhance, because when in all these movies, when all the FBI agents, they're looking at the screen and one says enhance, and you zoom in and it becomes clear, and we were like, oh, let's do this name. It was kind of a joke name, but who knew, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so before we go, I got a couple quick fire questions for you. Yes. First question is, what is your one or two of your favorite tech tools?
My tech tools.
One or two of your favorite tech tools.
So first one is Notion. I love it. I use it for both personal, and we also moving all company wiki there. It's one of the best databases, pages. You can link all types of content there. It's amazing in structuring. I really love them. Multiple templates. You can have everything there. CRMs, to-do lists, like it's great. So that's the first one. Another one that I just recently bought, it wasn't obvious. So I like to write. That's how I think. But the problem was that all my numerous notebooks were getting lost all the time. So I bought the iPad and iPencil, and now I write there. And it's the best. It's like so simple. And I just use simple notes, like standard, and do handwriting there, and it's saved like a screenshot and photo, and you have it everywhere on all devices anyway.
Yeah, I need to check that out. I've got like a whole strategy notebook where I'm writing it on a ton of different pages. I got to check that out. It would probably help me out here.
I was looking for some kind of application that can transform it, but it's not that intuitive. So, but with this, you can do like it almost replicates notebooks. And I just bought it like 1 month ago. It's powerful. You can, and also it's really important. It's really easy when you read books, and you can just have the stylus, highlight everything, cross it. You can do like active reading with all the marks, because I really feel sorry to buy books and do kind of this, it just like my designer visual soul. But in the electronic version, you can have it, and you can straight away export it to notes, and it's just very nice. It looks like 21st century working.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Okay, and next question, final question: who is one person that inspires you, either in AI or in business in general?
I really, I would say there is one person that inspires me more, like a life approach in general. It's Naval. I am a big fan of his podcast and books. So he's a very prominent Silicon Valley investor, and I would say even philosopher. So he's writing lots of tweets about how you should think about life, how you should think independently, and he seems like a very happy person as well. So he built like this huge portfolio of extremely successful companies, and he got famous of his tweet storm that could be easily found everywhere if you just type it in Google. It's how to get rich without getting lucky. So
Okay.
he highlights
And
kind of
his name is Naval?
Naval, yeah. It's just five letters. Yeah, I can send you the link afterwards, so you can add it to the description
Okay.
of the podcast. I would recommend it to everybody. I already recommended it to multiple of my friends. Very, very, very inspiring person. Somebody called him Silicon Valley Buddha, even, you know.
the Buddha of Silicon Valley. First time I've heard that one. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check him out as well. So I've got some recommendations from you that I'm also going to take up of my own there. And then lastly, before we go, where can we find you?
So I'm everywhere, like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, my website. Like I can give you my contacts as well. So if somebody has any questions, feel free to add me. I'm like Sofiia Shvets, which is HHSHVATS. It's kind of a bit complicated name, German name, but
we'll link the folks so they can find you directly on social.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome, Sophie. This was great. Love the use case here, and I appreciate you taking some time to join us and talk us through your journey.
Thanks for inviting. Thank you. It's a pleasure.